Hello, my name's Michael Conneely, and this is a video about the October 2021 full moon. And the theme is this full moon, which is terrible, offers a chance for us to come into our rightful power. The October full moon is a vast, violent energy which cries out to be properly understood, and which can be used positively and for healing. There are a number of key bits to it astrologically, and the healing and spiritual dimensions are profound. And because the energies of this full moon are so big, and because the empowerment and healing work we need to do with them are so big and important, please do note there are 2 videos to accompany the blog post, so please do see both of them. You're watching video 1 now. Here are the titles. Video 1 is October Full Moon Part 1, Energies Challenge Described. Video 2 is entitled October Full Moon Part 2, The Work We Must Do. So going into the quite complicated but very worthwhile to understand astrological analysis, the first big thing to be aware of is that Pluto is square the Sun and the Moon in the October full moon of 2021, which occurs on the 20th of October at 3:56 in the afternoon here in the beautiful west of Ireland. This full moon is actually an energy of power and violence, of shadow, but also a chance for healing and empowerment and growth in our consciousness. So the first thing to look at astrologically is the T-square. Sun and Moon are opposite each other. Pluto is T-square each of them. So this full moon unleashes a vast energy which will seep or explode into our consciousness. Its highest purpose and manifestation is actually for us to face the shadow and our difficult issues now and in upcoming time, so that we can come into our true power, so that we can raise our consciousness and heal ourselves. It would be so good to do a meditation or a visualization on the day of this full moon or the following days, envisioning our shadow, the shadow which is in each of us. Shadow can be negative things we stuff down and away into the darkness. Shadow can be positive things that we weren't allowed to own as ours because of our childhood upbringing or our social upbringing. So we envision our shadow, we take the time to do that, and we check out the way we use the energies of Sun, Mars and Pluto, where Sun is our divine self, the charioteer that drives the chariot of ourself, where Mars is our divine warrior, but negatively can be quite a nasty piece of work. And Pluto, which at the divine level is death and rebirth and coming into the fullness of our power, but negatively is the darkness and damage within. So we can envision our shadow, we can check out the way we're using Sun, Mars and Pluto in our life, and then we can see ourselves arising strengthened and connected to the spiritual meaning of this full moon, which I go into more in video part 2. Now, Pluto is, of course, also about control issues, and the relationship between control issues and conflicts, and control issues and the blocking of proper power. We need to develop consciousness now of the reasons we feel the need to be so in control of certain things in our life, and heal that now and ongoing, at the personal level as well as at the social level. Crisis and conflicts and destruction and pulverizing pain will happen if we do not embrace Pluto's highest message, and we will just continue disempowered and negative and retaliatory. Working with Pluto properly does bring about rebirth. We need to live with and channel properly Pluto's intensity. So the second astrological point is we also have to note that this full moon comes at the time, crucially, of the Pluto return of the USA. So what manifests on a personal level will also build into the shadow rise of all the power issues in the USA, which now inescapably have to be faced. And that goes on beyond the date of the full moon, of course. The first exact conjunction of the USA-Pluto return, the first hit, is May 2023. And because the USA is so big and powerful, what happens there will affect, positively or negatively, the whole of the planet. With this full moon and the Pluto return of the USA, so much darkness will become apparent. And this will hopefully be raised to the light and thus be an impetus for empowerment and healing, both at the personal level of each one of us, you and me, and the social level. We also, crucially, astrologically, need to be aware that Pluto is square Mars at the time of this full moon. This is because Sun and Mars are conjunct within 3 degrees of each other. So let's just look at the energies of that Sun-Mars conjunct square Pluto. Sun and Mars conjunction is an angry, frustrated energy. And to have Pluto square this is dangerous. It could be violence done by any of us as individuals or done by our societies. But it has to be used so carefully and with awareness to get us to manifest its highest potential, which is for each of us to stand in our rightful power. Not just to storm the barricades or post endlessly on Facebook or create battlefields from our mind. And do note that in this chart, Mars has the Atmakarika position, the soul indicator position. And so getting Mars right is the purpose of this full moon in the middle of everything else. And most importantly, here, that Mars receives a search aspect from Jupiter and Neptune. And this occurs at the time of the second violent chart shape, a yod, which actually has a potential healing energy meaning as well, and I'll be talking about that in a moment. So you can see the astrological energies are quite complicated, but please understand them, because it will help so much in our perception of the full moon energies and in our utilization of the full moon energies now and in the oncoming time, personally and in our societies. So let's pause now before we go further into analysing the energies to look at the planet positions of this full moon. Moon is at 3 degrees Vedic Aries, which is in Ashwini Nakshatra. And Ashwini Nakshatra is an impatient sign. Its power animal is stallions streaking across the skies of dawn. But its highest manifestation is the healer. Indeed, specifically the ambulance man type of healer that rushes to the site and of an accident and brings in the healing. Sun is opposite at 3 degrees Vedic Libra, and that's in Chitra Nakshatra. Now, Chitra Nakshatra is ruled by Mars. Its power animal is the female tiger. But it's terribly artistic and creative. Chitras manifest to create something of beauty in their life. It's ruled by Vishvakarma, the heavenly architect. It holds in its hands the book of knowledge. Pluto is at 0 degrees Vedic Capricorn, T-square the Sun and the Moon, in Uttarashada Nakshatra, where it's most important to realise Saturn has just stationed in Capricorn, bringing inexorable, ultra-deep, total demands on us, often of a long-running, often of a fated nature. It's very important that Saturn is still stationary at the time of this full moon. Saturn, like any planet, carves his message deepest when he has 0 velocity. And in the Western tropical zodiac, by the way, this is Moon at 27 Aries, Sun at 27 Libra, and Pluto at 24 Capricorn. Now let's go on to look at a further chart aspect shape within this moon. I've already looked at the T-square, and I've also looked at the search figure. I'm very big on joining Vedic astrology with psychodynamic Western astrology, and psychodynamic Western astrology, which basically depicts our egoic self and the healing of it, if we can get good perception of our egoic self, is a big user of chart aspect shapes. And the next chart aspect shape I would mention in this full moon is the revolutionary yod. A yod is a long thin triangle. It's a finger of God. The yod has this long thin triangle that actually points inexorably at the apex planet of the figure. And in the case of this particular yod, the finger of God is pointing now at revolutionary Uranus. So we have to understand the proper nature of Uranus's revolution in our personal life and in our society. Uranus, if you remember, was discovered at the time of the storming of the Bastille. We, each of us, must bring in revolution if that is indicated for us, and we must sort out our problems and manifest our talents and special skills and potential. Bring in the revolution needed to do that. Now, the planets that form the base of this yod are Mercury and Venus. Mercury is strong in Virgo, the sign he rules, and he's sextile Venus, which is in fraught Scorpio. Not an easy place for the energy for loving relationships. But the Mercury-Venus energy combined includes healing with speech, healing our loving relationships and bringing revolution to them. And indeed, this post and video forewarn us about the possibility for healing and bringing in revolution. But note also that Chiron is opposition Mercury in the heavens at the day of this full moon. So given that Mercury is in Virgo as well, there's actually a strong healer potential to this sharp, cutting, destructive Martian energy. We can react positively with spiritual insight and healing because the energies are so cutting. We can use Mars properly to be the spiritual warrior who brings in the needed revolution, because we're aware and we're forewarned and forearmed by good astrological analysis. We can usefully and successfully put our energy into healing issues at this time and ongoing in the months and years ahead. So far, we've noted two violent chart aspect shapes, the T-square and the yod. There's more to say about this full moon below. But what I want to say at this stage is you can actually look at the charts for this full moon in both Vedic and Western astrology on my October 2021 Star Wheel Astrology website, the October page. And actually I've included the psychodynamic Western astrology chart of this full moon generated by the Megastar program, which shows so beautifully clearly the T-square and the yod. And so the chart display for the full moon is 3/4 of the way down the October 2021 webpage on my Star Wheel Astrology website. Okay, the next thing we come to astrologically is Saturn is at a standstill. It is crucial to note that Saturn is super strong at this time. He is in Capricorn, the sign he rules. Saturn stationed on the 11th of October. This is a demanding, potentially grim, potentially fated energy time. Lord Shani, Lord of Karma, is giving us stern, fated, destined choices. And our minds can be made fearful and destabilised or pessimistic. But we must not give in to that negative reaction to the Saturn energy. We must respond instead to the positive sides of the Saturn energy, which are discipline and hard work, patience and duty, dotting the I's and crossing the T's in our needed strategies. And if we can respond to the Saturn energy of now in this positive karmic way, we will be rewarded. Saturn is originally an agricultural deity. His reward is golden reaping. His reward is golden reaping. And also at the time of Saturn stationary in Capricorn like this, long-running family scripts can be activated at this time, hopefully for healing. The next thing to hear is that Jupiter and the Sun are so weak. When the Sun is in Libra, it's so important to be aware that the Sun is weak. Our reception of the energy of the divine self is therefore weak, and this might manifest as lack of confidence, not doing the needed spiritual work, or shyness. For example, allowing a drain of the power opportunity Pluto offers now. Jupiter, like Mercury, turns direct on the 18th of October, but he is in Saturn's sign of Capricorn, and so his dignity is very weak. So we all need to take steps to boost our personal reception of Jupiter's key spiritual energies at this time, which are blessing, sense of purpose, expansion and guru connection. Now, the last time Jupiter was in Capricorn saw the great crash of 2008, the Celtic Tiger crash as it was here in Ireland, recession. I have been predicting that recession will come in at this time for a good year or more. But a giant market crash has just now been predicted by one financial expert. Will we see gold, silver and Bitcoin come crashing down now? Billionaire Robert Kiyosaki, a personal finance expert, has warned that a giant market crash has already been triggered. He warns the world is on the brink of economic disaster, And this crash will bring down Bitcoin and could wipe out the price of stocks, affecting millions. Mr. Kiyosaki told Kitco News, "This is going to be the biggest crash in world history. We've never had this much debt pumped up. Debt is the biggest problem of all. The debt to GDP ratio is out of sight. Economies are stacked with massive debt, and all it's done is bump up the stock market and the real estate market. We shall see." Just a couple of more things important to notice astrologically. Uranus is square Saturn. Revolutionary Uranus is transiting super powerful in Aries, the sign he was transiting during the rise of power of Adolf Hitler and the bringing in of World War II. And its square aspect to Saturn in Capricorn. That square will reach its third exact crescendo on the 24th of December. The intensity of revolutionary Uranus is smashing against Saturn in Capricorn now, where Saturn in Capricorn includes our outmoded structures and blocks. And so important, note that Uranus is, of course, the apex planet in the Yod chart aspect shape in the October full moon. So note that this full moon will indeed be a valuable and needed preparation if, amid it, you can perceive and come more into and stand in your true and rightful power and needed personal revolution. The other thing to note is that Rahu, the North Node, is aspecting Saturn now. There's just a 3-degree orb.